FPL Game Week 33 transfer targets. It's the biggest double game week of the season, so I've put together the Vert verified power ranking, my top 5 for the next 5, and a free hit draft, because I don't think anyone has a wildcard active in this week. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe, and let's get into it. What's up? It's FPL Vert, where arrows go green, and as you can see, they are currently green ahead of Wednesday's final game of Game Week 32 with Newcastle hosting Crystal Palace. So we'll have a proper review of how the team did in my team selection video later this week. But looking ahead, it's double Game Week 33, which is the biggest double of the season. We have 4 teams doubling, with Arsenal going away to Ipswich and hosting Crystal Palace, Aston Villa hosting Newcastle and going away to Manchester City, Crystal Palace hosting Bournemouth and going away to Arsenal, and then Manchester City going away to Everton and hosting Aston Villa. So it's not the best doubles really. You'd say Arsenal probably have the best fixtures. So by that extension, I would recommend Arteta as the best assistant manager chip. If you have it active, I do think this will be a very active week for chips. It's chips galore really. It'll be assistant managers, free hits, bench boosts, triple captains maybe. Don't think wildcard will be active though, so that's why I've created a free hit draft later in the video, which will be timestamped. But for now, we're going to go into the Vert verified power ranking. So starting with the goalkeepers, I mean, this is always a funny position because no one really makes goalkeeper transfers. You would have probably, if you had your bench boost active, you probably would have activated your wildcard already. But if you were looking at free hit, it's also good to look at. I do think Raya has he's the best pick because he plays for the best defense and he has the best fixtures as well. So I would definitely have Raya as my number 1. Martinez would go number 2 because he has a double, but it's not really the best double. As you can see by the underlying metrics, so the expected goals conceded per 90. Raya and Alisson are going neck and neck, but of course Raya has the extra fixture, so he'd be number 1 for me. But you could go for Alisson I guess as well, and then the rest just make up the list. Henderson's last on the list, he's got a double, but you expect Bournemouth and Arsenal to score really. But yeah, it'd be Raya number 1 for me. So into the defenders, and unfortunately this week it's not actually that exciting from an attacking perspective. We have Saliba number 1 because he's got the best defensive fixtures in terms of a clean sheet. But would you be surprised if Ipswich or Crystal Palace scored? Probably not. Maybe Crystal Palace is an opportunity for a clean sheet because they will face Arsenal 3 days before their FA Cup semi-final. So there is possibility that they rotate or they're a bit distracted. So perhaps there's a clean sheet there. Kiwior is here because he's got the same fixtures as Saliba, but he's got even worse expected goal involvement. I mean, Saliba averages a goal involvement every 10 games. Kiwior averages 1 every 25 games. So not most exciting. But you've got one with Munoz. He averages almost one expected goal involvement every 4 games, which is obviously a clear improvement. But his fixtures aren't really the best. Maybe he can score at home against Bournemouth, but you do expect Arsenal to score and probably win that game. Gvardiol as well, but he's playing centre back now with Nico O'Reilly back in the team, Manchester City. So yeah, not too many attacking impetus here from the defenders this week, but you have to play with the hand you're dealt. And Konza's here just because he's a very cheap option at 4.4 million. So into the midfielders where it gets a bit more exciting, and we do have Saka as number 1 because I think he's probably the most surest bet as a captain. Of course, we do have De Bruyne thumbnail, and we're going to talk about him in a minute. But I do think Ipswich away and Crystal Palace at home not only are the best fixtures, but Arsenal do have 4 days between their second leg with Real Madrid and Ipswich away. And then I do think at some point Saka's going to have to start starting games again. He has looked a bit rusty, admittedly, in the games that he's played. Obviously he did play pretty well against Real Madrid, to be fair to him. That was a start, but against Brentford on the weekend he did look a bit rusty. So I do think he's going to start starting games. He probably is the best captain this week as well. But of course the main event this week is Kevin De Bruyne. Of course he is leaving Manchester City after 10 years, which will be a very emotional goodbye, but he seems very locked into their mission to for Champions League. He actually said that in an interview as well, that he wants to leave with Champions League. So he took the matters into his own hands on Saturday. I mean, Manchester City were 2-0 down, and he sparked the comeback with pretty incredible free kick, just rolling back the years, and he pretty much created the next 2 goals as well. Of course, he headed it backwards for Gundogan, who did tee up Marmoush to score, and then he did like 80 seconds after the second half started, he set up Kovacic. So, you know, it was very virtuoso performance from the main man at Manchester City. Of course, he was furthest forward for Manchester City as well. So I think when you combine that all together with him saying that he's, you know, the hernia injury that was plaguing him, he's playing without pain now. I do think Saka and De Bruyne are probably the two #1 assets to look for across all positions this week. So those are my top two, even more than forwards. Again, maybe on par with Marmoush, but everyone owns Marmoush now. So I would have De Bruyne probably number two. I'd get both though. I will be getting both anyway, so you can talk about that in my team selection. Morgan Rogers just is clearly indestructible. He started 31 games now, all 31 games. Everyone thought that he might get a rest against Southampton, seeing as they have their second leg against PSG in the Champions League today, actually. So good luck to Aston Villa, maybe. But no, he started and played 80 minutes and got an assist as well. So I just think he's the one. He's the most surest one for minutes. Of course, there's Rashford. Of course, there's Marlon. I think you just go for minutes, really. We've got Merino here as well, just because he is playing out of position and he's pretty decent for goals as well. Obviously, he's on par with Rodgers for expected goal involvement, which is pretty impressive, actually. But I just think, you know, if you'll see my free hit draft, he doesn't make it, but I think if you want a differential, maybe you can go there. And then we have Eberechi Eze. As I've said many times before, he's just the better player than Sarr. So yeah, I would definitely pick him over Sarr, even though Sarr assisted. Obviously, Eze scored, and Eze actually almost made it 3-0 as well. So I'll definitely go there. Into the forwards, and Omar Marmoush as #1 in the forwards. Of course, he joined in January. He's only had 9 starts, but he scored 6 goals and returned an assist. I mean, all 6 of his Premier League goals have come at home, so maybe he's probably best for home games if you want to look at captaincy. But I still think he's obviously a great pick, and you can see by the points per match, it's reflected with all the forwards on this list just how well he's doing this year. So definitely Marmoush if you don't own him. Then we go for Watkins. I think obviously he has been out of the team, but it looked like he was managing a knee injury. He did get injured in Aston Villa's Champions League round of 16 tie against Club Brugge. He came off at half time, and that was the point that Rashford starting. But I think, you know, he looked pretty crisp on Saturday against Southampton. Came off the bench. He won a penalty, which essentially really should have converted. And then he also finished Yuri Tielemans' great pass. And I think he probably does start tonight. So we'll see what happens in the Champions League. But I do think he's probably, you know, he's going to be ready for starts, especially as they're getting ready for their FA Cup semi-final against Crystal Palace. And of course, Juan-Philippe Mateta leads the line for Crystal Palace. He's going to be facing Bournemouth and Arsenal in a double game week, so it's not the best, but it's still a double. So these will be the top 3, and you'll see in the free hit who makes it. But I think these are easy picks. They pick themselves. And then if you want to go a little bit differently, I mean, I'll be having Alexander Isak on my bench boost. He'll be on my bench. But more importantly, Matheus Cunha has returned from suspension. He's missed 4 games through suspension, and in typical Cunha fashion, came off the bench, played 20 minutes, scored 1 goal in a game that had 6 goals, and he took home 2 bonus. This guy is just a bonus magnet. Definitely be looking at him for the upcoming weeks, especially in GameWeek 34, which of course I'll be having my free hit active for. So make sure you subscribe to see which free hit I'll be putting together for that. But these are the top forwards for me. So as mentioned earlier in the video, I have put together a free hit draft for game week 33. We would typically have a wildcard draft for the transfer targets players to buy, but I just think there's no reason to really have a wildcard active a week before blank. Doesn't really make sense. So this is my favorite free hit team. So we basically have unlimited budget for the first team. We would have a triple up with Arsenal with Raya, Saliba and Saka. Of course, you can go for Merino if you're feeling a little bit differential. I think Munoz, Eze and Mateta are clear as the best Crystal Palace triple up. I think gvardiol, De Bruyne and Marmoush is clear as the Manchester City double up, and I think, you know, Aston Villa, Rodgers and Watkins pick themselves. I think, you know, Rodgers, I mean, Marlon, you know, he doesn't play in the Champions League, so he probably should start in the league, but I don't think he is in Unai Emery's first team, really, against, you know, Newcastle and Manchester City. These are direct rivals for the top 5 in the Premier League as well, for, you know, to gain Champions League. So I do think Watkins does return to the first team. I think Rodgers is indestructible and is the best for minutes. And then the bench is just a bit of fun. We've got Martinez who has a double, just in case Raya for some reason misses out. We have Luis Diaz and Bradley both going away to Leicester as Liverpool look to close off the Premier League. And we've got Southampton. We've got Wan-Bissaka home to Southampton. So that's my free hit draft. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram and Twitter, and they'll be answered. So I'll see you later for the team selection. So probably maybe keep an eye on price changes just in case you can't make moves. I may have made some moves already, but we'll see you later for my team selection. Thanks.